Greetings to all of you. And welcome to all of you, my dear sisters and brothers and my dear friends. This is Reverend Yeti. I took a little break for a couple of days because I had to do some stuff, and I'm back. Today we're going to do the second He Still Moves Mountain study and also meditation reflection, how we look at things in our own personal life. And for today it is not guilty, overcoming shame. I'm going to tell you a story about two females too, which is very harsh to hear, but let us look at this, take it as this, that if we listen very carefully, if we listen very intense, then we can reflect on our own personal life, and maybe of our friends or our brothers and sisters in a very different dimension. So, the reason for this study meditation is that it will heal us, that it brings other perspectives in our lives, that will give us a new path to walk on, a healing process, and we all need that. Jesus went to the Mount of Olives, but early in the morning he went back to the temple, and all the people came to him, and he sat and taught them. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in adultery. They forced her to stand before the people. They said to Jesus, "Teacher, this woman was caught having sexual relations with a man who is not her husband. The law of Moses commands that we stone to death every woman who does this. What do you say we should do?" They were asking this to trick Jesus so that they could have some charged against him. But Jesus bent over and started writing on the ground with his finger. When they continued to ask Jesus their question, he raised up and said, "Anyone here who has never sinned can throw the first stone at her." Then Jesus bent over again and wrote on the ground. Those who heard Jesus began to leave one by one. First the older man and then the others. Jesus was left there alone with the woman standing before him. Jesus raised up again and asked her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one judged you guilty?" She answered, "No one, sir." Then Jesus said, "I also don't judge you guilty. You may go now, but don't sin anymore." John 8 verses 1 to 11. And here is the story of Rebecca Thompson. And as John 8:11 says, "I also don't judge you guilty." Listen to this story. Rebecca Thompson fell twice from the Fremont Canyon Bridge. She died both times. The first fall broke her heart. The second broke her neck. She was only 18 years of age when she and her 11-year-old sister was abducted by a pair of hoodlums near a store in Casper, Wyoming. They drove the girls 40 miles southwest to the Fremont Canyon Bridge, a one-lane steel-beamed structure rising 112 feet above the North Platte River. The men brutally beat and raped Rebecca. She somehow convinced them not to do the same to her sister Amy. Both were thrown over the bridge into the narrow gorge. Amy died when she landed on a rock near the river, but Rebecca slammed into a ledge and was ricochetted into the deeper water. With a hip fracture in 5 places, she struggled to the shore. To protect her body from the cold, she wedged herself between 2 rocks and waited until the dawn. But the dawn never came for Rebecca. Oh, the sun came up, and she was found. The physicians treated her wounds, and the courts imprisoned her attackers. Life continued, but the dawn never came. The blackness of her night of horrors lingered. She was never able to climb out of the canyon. So in September 1992, 19 years later, she returned to the bridge. Against her boyfriend's pleading, she drove 70 miles per hour to the North Platte River, where her 2-year-old daughter and boyfriend at her side. She sat on the edge of the Fremont Canyon Bridge and wept. Through her tears, she retold the story. The boyfriend didn't want the child to see her mother cry, so he cried the toddler to the car. He carried the toddler to the car. That's when he heard her body hit the water. And that when Rebecca Thompson died her second time. The sun never dawned on Rebecca's dark night. Why? What eclipsed the light from her world? Fear? Perhaps. She had testified against the men, pointed them out in the courtroom. One of the murderers had taunted her by smirking and sliding his finger across her throat. On the day of her death, the 2 had been up for parole. Perhaps the fear of a second encounter was too great. What is anger? Anger at her rapist? Anger at the parole board? Anger at herself for the 1,000 falls and the 1,000 nightmares that followed? Or anger at God for a canyon that grew even deeper in the night that grew even blacker and dawn that never came? Was it guilt? Some think so. Despite Rebecca's attractive smile and appealing personality, friends say that she struggled with the ugly fact that she had survived and her little sister had not. What is shame? Everyone she knew and thousands she didn't had heard the humiliating details of her tragedy. The stigma was tattooed deeper with the newspaper ink of every headline. She had been raped. She had been violated. She had been shamed. And try as she might to outline and outrun the memory, she never could. So 19 years later she went back to the bridge. Canyons of shame run deep. Gorge of never-ending guilt. Walls ribboned with the greens and grays of that, unending echoes of screams. But your hands over your ears, splashed water on your face. Stop looking over your shoulder. Try as you might to unrun yesterday's tragedies. Their tentacles are longer than your hope. They draw you back to the bridge of sorrows to be shamed again and again and again and again. If it was your fault, it would be different. If you were to blame, you could apologize. If the tumble into the canyon was your mistake, you could respond. But you weren't a volunteer. You were a victim. Sometimes your shame is private, pushed over the edge by an abusive spouse, molested by a perverted parent, seduced by a compromising superior. No one else knows, but you know, and that's enough. You're not surprised when I say there are Rebecca Thompsons in every city and Fremont Bridges in every town. And there are many Rebecca Thompsons in the Bible, so many in the fact that it almost seems that the pages of Scripture are stitched together with their stories. You've met many in this, what I'm going through with you in our broadcast, each acquainted with the hard floor of the canyon of shame. But there is one woman whose story embodies them all, a story of failure, a story of abuse, a story of shame, and a story of grace. That's her, the woman standing in the center of the circle. Those men around her are religious leaders, Pharisees, they are called, self-appointed custodians of conduct. And the other man, the one in the simple clothes, the one sitting on the ground, the one looking at the face of the woman, that's Jesus. Jesus has been teaching. The woman has been cheating. And the Pharisees are out to stop them both. Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The accusation rings off the courtyard's wall. Caught in the act of adultery. The words alone are enough to make you blush. Door slammed open, covers jerked black. In the act, in the arms, in the moment, in the embrace. Caught. Aha. What have we here? This man is not your husband. Put on some clothes. We know what to do with a woman like you. In an instant she is yanked from private passion to public spectacle. Heads poke out of windows as to pose pushes her through the streets. But nothing can hide her shame. From this second dawn she'll be known as an adulteress. When she goes to the market, women will whisper. When she passes, heads will turn. When her name is mentioned, the people will remember. The greater travesty, however, goes unnoticed. What the woman did is shameful, but what the Pharisees did is despicable. According to the law, adultery was punishable by death, but only if two people witnessed the act. There had to be 2 eyewitnesses. Question: how likely are 2 people to be eyewitnesses to adultery? What are the chances of 2 people stumbling upon an early morning flurry of forbidden embraces? Unlikely. But if you do, odds are it's not a coincidence. So we wonder, how long did the men peer through the window before they barged in? How long did they lurk behind the curtain before they stepped out? And what of the man? Adultery requires 2 participants. What happened to him? Could it be that he slipped out? The evidence leaves little doubt. It was a trap. She's been caught, but she'll soon see that she is not the catch. She's only the bad. The law of Moses commands that we stone to death every woman who does this. What do you say we should do? As for the woman, why, she's immaterial, merely a pawn in their game. Her future is unimportant. Her reputations, who cares if it's ruined? She is a necessary yet dispensable part of their plan. The woman stares at the ground. Her sweaty hair dangles. Her tears drip hot with hurt. Her lips are tight. Her jaw is clenched. She knows she's been framed. No need to look up. She'll find no kindness. She looks at the stones in their hands, squeezed so tightly that fingertips turn white. You'd expect Jesus to stand and proclaim judgment on the hypocrites. He doesn't. You'd hope that he would snatch the woman and the two would be beamed to Galilee. That's not what happens either. You'd imagine that an angel would descend or heaven would speak or the earth would shake. No, none of that. Once again, his move is subtle. But once again, his message is unmistakable. What does Jesus do? Jesus writes in the sand. He stoops down and draws in the dirt. The same finger that engraved the commandments on Sinai, peaked and seared the warning on Belshazzar's wall, now scribbled in the courtyard floor. And as he writes, he speaks. Anyone here who has never sinned can throw the first stone at her. The young look to the old look in their hearts. They are the first to drop their stones. And as they turn to leave, the young who were cookie with borrowed convictions do the same. The only sound is the thud of rocks and the shuffle of feet. Jesus and the woman are left alone. With the jury gone, the courtyard becomes the judge's chambers, and the woman awaits his verdict. Woman, where are they? Has no one judged you guilty? Jesus said. She answers, no one, sir. Then Jesus says, I also don't judge you guilty. You may go now, but don't sin anymore. If you have ever wondered how God reacts when you fail, frame these words and hang them on the wall. Read them, ponder them, drink from them, stand below them, and let them wash over your soul. Or better still, take him with you to your canyon of shame. Invite Christ to journey with you back to the Fremont Bridge of your world. Let him stand beside you as you retell the events of the darkest nights of your soul. And then listen. Listen carefully. He is speaking. I don't judge you guilty. And watch. Watch carefully. He's writing. He's leaving a message. Not in the sand, but on a cross. Not with his hand, but with his blood. His message has two words. Not guilty. My beautiful people, don't forget this. May you find peace within. May you carry these words in your heart. May you put them somewhere that it's easily to read them again. And let God heal you. Blessings upon your life. I wish you a very wonderful day, a late afternoon, an easy evening, and a very good night. Because when we listen to a broadcast, it comes in different times to us. Blessings to all of you. Bye.